Okay, this is a reaction video from Passport 2. I did a previous one on them, 5 things in Germany that just make sense. Well, this is 5 unbelievable lies America taught me about Germany. Well, I don't know what these are. I don't know what these 5 unbelievable lies are. And since I've been to Germany, I've only been there about 10 days.
No, Germans.
Okay, this is a reaction video from Passport 2. I did a previous one on them. 5 things that they do in Germany that just make sense. This is 5 unbelievable lies America taught me about Germany. So let's see what this is all about. Okay.
No, Germans do that? Wait, Germans really own those? You're saying that Germans don't actually enjoy this? Yeah, there are some crazy things that America taught me about Germany before moving here.
Of course, he moved there. I didn't move there. I was only there for about 10 or 11 days. But everything I thought I knew about Germany, was actually true because my brother had been there before and told me a lot about it. But let's see what he was told.
Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are 2 Americans currently living in Germany with our baby and sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. Often, we have people who assume that we moved from the US to Germany 3 years ago because we hate the US or the politics drove us out of the country.
Very often, I hear from people who move abroad, it's not because that usually doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just, people wanting to see experience stuff. I know my girlfriend's brother was in the military, and they lived in Germany for quite a while and really, really enjoyed it. And I actually lived abroad when I was growing up. I lived in Bermuda for 4 years.
In fact, this isn't the case at all, and nothing could be farther from the truth. We've talked about this in many of our videos, but basically, I studied abroad in college in Germany and loved my time here, but wanted to dive deeper into learning about and experience.
And I absolutely love my time in Germany, and I would love to go back there, and I will go back there. I was there for the World Cup in 2006, and I could not speak more highly of the country and the people. And I was able to visit. We stayed in Frankfurt, but I was able also to go to Cologne. Saw the cathedral there. Went through Mannheim. Went to Berlin and Kaiserslautern. And the places I really want to go to now, if I go back, I want to go to Munich, and I really want to go to Hamburg.
Experiencing.
I believe those are on opposite sides of the country. I think Hamburg's way in the north, and Munich's in the south.
A different culture than mine. Every country in the world has false ideas and stereotypes about other countries, and one of the most interesting and exciting things about living amongst a different country and culture is learning the truth firsthand about those places. Now, after living in Europe and specifically Germany for the past 3 years, I have really probably only started scratching the surface, but what lies have I discovered I was told about Germany that aren't true? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in our video. Liar, liar, pants on fire. It's the German truth that I desire. Now, here is often the problem with videos like these. And in particular, of course, Germany is filled with extremely wide-ranging cultures, politics, social norms, etc. And even in the US, sometimes in the same state, you have a very wide-ranging experience with politics, cultures, religion, etc. So just know.
And I wasn't there long enough to experience all of that stuff that he's talking about.
Oh, when I say these things, it is particularly based on my personal experience growing up in Oklahoma in the US and now living in Rheinland-Pfalz. But let's start with the first lie that I was led to believe, and that is that these are just accent marks and aren't really necessary. This is something in fact pointed out to me first a few years ago on the comment on a video that we made in Germany before we moved here, in which I had spelled German words without the umlauts because simply I didn't have them on my keyboard. Well, I guess that also is a lie, because even though American keyboards don't have umlauts just out, available, easily accessible, you can simply type them by holding down the letter and then selecting them. But I think this may come from a lack of understanding of foreign languages, and Americans see these letters under the umlauts and think that native speakers of the foreign language would look at it without the two dots and just know what the word is because it's the same letter. However, to give you an example, this and this are two completely different words. Technically, the German alphabet has 26 letters just like the English alphabet, but with 4 extra characters as well, I guess you could say. But yes, the umlauts are actually very important and not just simply showing an accent. Oh, and also, this is not a B.
Now, I guess with the umlauts, I didn't have to worry about those too much since I wasn't living in Germany. And most people that I encountered spoke English. There was a couple of people that didn't, but most people spoke English, and so that was very good for the American traveler. But I can understand where he's coming from.
When you see any depiction of Germany or its culture, what do you almost always see?
You see the beer, you see the Lederhouse. If you're an American and they're showing you Germany, some of the housing, the Lederhosen, the beer, yes, that are showing there. Maybe some football. Maybe they'll show you Bayern Munich if they show any kind of sports at all. If they're really, really rude, they'll show you images of World War II, which really isn't necessary to see. But that's pretty much what you get, what you think of if you think of Germany. Not so much other things that I think he's going to talk about.
In the US, and honestly I think a lot of the rest of the world, Germany has an image of a beer guzzling country, and in some ways I wouldn't say this completely.
Like I said, it's not just beer, okay? Because if you're growing up in high school, it doesn't show you the beer culture, but I knew there was a beer culture in Germany. In fact, I saw it myself.
Is a lie, but in some ways I think it is. So yes, Oktoberfest is a huge deal. Also, most of our local festivals do kick off with a mayor tapping a keg, and nearly every region in Germany will have a local beer that they stay very loyal to. However,
when we were in Kaiserslautern, not Kaiserslautern, in Frankfurt, I think it was Beck's was the beer of choice.
As our friends over at My Merry Messy Life put it in a recent video, beer isn't the only drink Germans enjoy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Today I've come to the Mosel Valley. We can already see beautiful vineyards behind me in the Mosel River, and I'm going to be doing a vineyard and winery tour that I booked with the sponsor of today's video, Get Your Guide. Now, we've told you about the German Weinstraße in our region before, and also the world's largest wine festival that takes place in Bad Dürkheim every year. So to show you how important wine is in Germany, let me show you a different wine region in Germany in this video. So far on the tour, we have learned a lot of really interesting things, but one of the most interesting things that we just learned about when we talk about the importance of German wine in Germany, he was saying that the German government actually restricts how many liters of wine they're allowed to gather from individual vineyards to make sure that the quality of the wine stays really high and that the quality won't go too low because of mass production. So German wine, I guess, should have extremely high quality if you're getting some of it. As we drove here, we drove through miles and miles, or maybe I should say kilometers and kilometers of vineyards. It didn't take long to realize that wine is king in our region, and Germany is within the top 10 largest producers of wine in the world, and 60% of the wine produced in Germany comes from Rhineland-Pfalz. On this tour, we learned not only about how important wine is to Germany today, but also how deeply rooted the tradition of wine production is in Germany, and specifically the Mosel Valley, as wine has been produced here since Roman times. On this tour, we learned from seed to bottle everything that goes into wine production, and for example, why the geography of the Mosel Valley makes its Riesling wine so unique and spectacular. The tour ended with a phenomenal 3-course meal with 2 accompanying wines per course to teach how to perfectly pair wine with food, which was taught by a genuine German sommelier. With wine being such an important part of this region in Germany, one thing I highly suggest people do when visiting Germany is to do a vineyard tour like I am doing here in Ellens-Pulzersdorf. Doing a tour like this one with Get Your Guide allows you to hear from knowledgeable local experts like these at Weingut Basten. Get Your Guide offers over 60,000 curated experiences in more than 3,600 destinations worldwide, and they make it incredibly easy to search an area you're going and booking a unique experience. Like for this trip, I knew I wanted to show you guys a German winery, so I just searched for experiences in Germany, filtered the interest to drinks, and found exactly what I was looking for. We've used Get Your Guide for tours for years from Spain to Poland because it is so easy to book and you are able to cancel up to 24 hours in advance when your travel plans change. If you guys want to check out this specific tour for yourself, I can highly recommend it, and I will leave a link in the description so you can book it on Get Your Guide. But while you're there, go ahead and check out all of the thousands of great tours that they have, and you may find one in your area.
Now, he was talking about wine and about the drinking culture in Germany. I know there was other things to drink besides beer. But yeah, whenever you talk about the United States, whatever it teaches you about, if it teaches you anything about Germany, it does have a huge beer culture. But I knew there was other things to drink there besides beer. I knew they had a wine culture there already.
Along with the abundance of wine specifically in our part of Germany, another thing that has really surprised me is how often we see Germans drinking alcohol-free beer. When Americans think of Germans drinking all of the beer they drink, we are under the impression that Germans just simply have a culture that completely surrounds around drinking alcohol. Another point that drives this idea that Germans are obsessed with alcohol is that the drinking age is so much lower in Germany than in the US. And well, sure, alcohol does play a part of the German culture, but at the same time, I do see a lot of alcohol-free beer being drunk regularly in Germany, and this is a huge highlight.
Now, I'm not a big beer drinker, and I didn't really pay much attention to what people were drinking while I was there because the World Cup was going on. But this is something that actually doesn't surprise me either about the alcohol-free beer in Germany.
The difference in drinking culture in the US versus in Germany, I think. If you're German, I would love to hear in the comments why/if you drink alcohol-free beer, but from my perspective, I do believe that Germans drink beer purely for the enjoyment of flavor a lot more than Americans would. In the US, drinking beer is primarily about drinking the alcohol for a lot of people, and therefore drinking alcohol-free beer is pointless or sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of people in America wouldn't drink alcohol-free beer. It's not something that would appeal to them. Usually when you go to like a sporting event or a concert or something like that, it's for the alcohol content. It's not so much for the non-alcohol or for the taste.
Is even seen as non-masculine behavior. Now, drinking alcohol-free beer in Germany is supposedly a rather newish phenomenon though, and according to TheGuardian.com and an interview they did with a waiter from a German cafe in 2019, I'd estimate that every fourth beer I sell these days is non-alcoholic. That's a big change even from 2-3 years ago. This article even quoted the German Association of Brewers, DBB, as saying, now as many as 1 in 15 beers consumed in Germany contains no alcohol.
Now, as far as 5 unbelievable lies America taught me about Germany, so far it's the 2 dots above the letter. They like to drink wine, and they also like to drink non-alcoholic beer. I don't remember any of these lies being told to me in the United States about Germany. But again, I didn't grow up in Oklahoma either, so let's see what the other 2 are.
No longer considered shameful to ask for an alcohol-free beer. On the contrary, it seems it's even becoming something of an accepted lifestyle drink, and the stigma is more or less gone. One thing highly valued for much of the US is a house with a yard. We are often led to believe that in Europe, homes are smaller, tighter put together, and
Okay, this is something that I have also heard, but I also saw that I was in Germany. I did not see that. I saw some subdivisions, what we call subdivisions in the United States, and it looked like everybody had a pretty good-sized yard. I usually think of what he's talking about more in England than I do in Germany.
Therefore, everybody is packed in on top of each other, and having a yard is something we are lucky to have that Europeans just don't have. I think this has a lot to do with the images we are typically shown of Europe, which look like this or this, even more so.
That looks like Frankfurt.
When Americans travel to Germany, they are usually going to places like Munich or Berlin or Nuremberg, and therefore they are really only seeing tightly packed old cities, and even then they aren't.
And those are some of the pictures when he was talking about what you look like when you see Germany. Those are some of the things you normally see. I can look at that and know that that's Germany.
I've seen the outer non-tourist
without having anybody tell me about that, but I did see houses with had yards in them.
Touristy parts of the city where people are more spread out, which then reinforces this idea. Now, the structure of German towns and countrysides are for sure different, and homes generally are smaller than in the US, and there are a lot of different reasons for that. And although you don't have the suburban sprawl that you have in the US, you do still find homes with yards in Germany quite often. Sure.
When I was in Germany, we stayed in Frankfurt. We stayed in the Le Meridien, which is not too far from where the train station is. If you know Frankfurt, then you know what I'm talking about, the area I'm talking about. And there was like an area out there where you could get a beer or get a drink, whatever you wanted. But the hotel rooms were very, very cramped. My father, my brother, and I stayed in one. You know, it looked like it compared to a hotel room in the United States. It was much more cramped, but I still enjoyed it. It was still reasonably sized. But talking about yards, I did see a lot of houses when we were on the train and we went to different places. I did see some yards out there which weren't too dissimilar from the United States.
Not everybody is going to have a yard, but not everybody in Oklahoma will have a yard either. But for example, our German house has both a front yard, a backyard, and a side yard. Size is relative to whether someone would think it is large or small, but I did a Google Maps measurement of our property, and our house sits on approximately 7,800 square feet of land. So overall, the idea that Germans don't have space where they don't live on top of each other in yards isn't true, and it can feel somewhat similar to US spaces sometimes. The next thing that I was led to believe about Germany, and probably most of Europe as a whole, is that there are no guns in Europe. Boom! Wow, here I am.
Okay, and this is a big thing in the United States that they're arguing about is gun control, or should you have guns. But it's not something I've never really thought about a whole great deal, even in the United States, because I don't own a gun. I have never owned a gun. I have never had a desire to own a gun. I am not a member of the NRA. I have held a gun before, but I have no desire to own one. I have no desire to shoot one.
I'm talking about Umlauts and alcohol-free beer, and then I slam down the GUN word. Yeah, this is a super political topic, and to many of your disgruntlement, I have no interest in talking about politics on YouTube. So all I literally want to say is the simple fact of I have been very surprised.
I made a mistake of talking about politics on YouTube. Maybe I'll do a video about that. Or I talked about a video about why does America treat its people so badly. And it's one of the worst videos I've ever seen. And me and a buddy of mine ripped it to shreds because we know it was all complete nonsense. But most of my European viewers really, really ripped me a new one for that one because they thought it was true. But I could go on that, but I'm not going to bring that up. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, as far as the gun word is concerned, I don't own a gun. I don't want to own a gun. But I didn't think anything about people in Europe feeling the same way. I really didn't care much about it because I don't own one, nor do I plan to own one.
I see how many shooting clubs and hunting blinds are all over Germany. Now, I don't think I actually have ever heard anybody in the US specifically say to me, Germany has no guns, but with the political nature of this issue in the US, I do often feel like the idea spread is that the US is unique in that it allows gun ownership.
Yeah, I think one of the more unique things about what people think about the United States is that everybody owns a gun, everybody likes to shoot people and things like that, and that's really not the case. You know, it's one of those things that the media controls the narrative, and if you believe what the narrative is, then you're going to believe what they're telling you. It's just not true. But again, that's something I'm not going to get into.
Period. And
that's my 2 cents. That's
particular, if you go to Europe, you won't find them. According to a DW article from this year, around 1 million people in Germany legally own a total of more than 5 million firearms. Most of them are sport shooters, hunters, or foresters. There is one side of our town that if you walk around it, it isn't entirely uncommon to hear gunshots ringing around town as shooters at the local shooting club do some target shooting. Also, nearly everybody that comes and visits us from the US are just as shocked as we were when we first moved here that in our our area, it is nearly impossible to drive more than 10 minutes without coming across 1,000 hunting blinds throughout the countryside. Now, a reminder, Germany has a population of a little over 83 million people. So don't let me make you think that there are more gun owners in Germany than there actually are, but simply there are guns. And that is all I want to say about that. To see who made it this.
And that's something I didn't really think about a whole lot. But, look, my personal feeling on guns is if you own it and you are responsible with it, you're not killing people with it, I don't have a problem with people owning guns. That's just something I want to do. So I don't worry too much about that.
This far into the video, the random question of the week is, do you peel a banana at the stem or hold the stem and peel from the bottom?
Well, if I was somebody who ate a banana, I would probably have an answer to that question. But since I don't really care for bananas, I'm not the person to ask for that.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we will see you in our next video.
Yes, that's Passport 2, 5 Unbelievable Lies America Taught Me About Germany. I don't know about America teaching me any of those, but it is what it is. Please click like, share, and subscribe for them. And please click like, share, and subscribe for me. And have a good rest of your day. Thanks for watching.